Hello YouTube and welcome back to World of Warships with Wadres, and today I have the Tier 6 HMS Furious for you. Now this is actually going to be a slightly different format video for me in that I'm actually going to have 3 battles in this video instead of 2 or 1, and that's primarily because I actually had 3 very short battles in rapid succession, so I decided to do 3 battles just to kind of make up a little bit more time and be able to showcase the ship a little bit properly. And in that same time frame, I also happened to have just 3 videos that I guess kind of give you a decent spread of what this ship will end up against as well. In the case of this first battle, we've pretty much got beautiful matchmaking for, well, I guess I could say perfect capabilities for the Furious. And that is, she's got 3 Tier 6s and 5 Tier 5s, a Pensacola, a Bugioni, a Fuso, Marblehead, Emerald, Kirov, Koenig, and a Congo, or no, not Koenig, Königsberg. And basically this is a match that's just a dream for the Furious because the amount of AA that she's having to go up against is minimal at best. I mean, whoever claimed that a Tier 5 had phenomenal AA with the exception of the USS Texas. And from what I understand, even that's really kind of lackluster these days. So yeah, overall, definitely, I guess you could say perfect matchmaking for the tier for the Furious, and it's going to show. I'm gonna do pretty decent in this match at hand, and I mean, I single-handedly destroy an Emerald. I do focus my attention a little bit more broad spectrum across some of the other ships that are going to be here for a little while. But, I mean, overall, I do pretty good. And just kind of showcasing what perfect situational matchmaking is in regards to the Furious. And, I mean, she definitely shines in this match. Granted, there are some things that I still kind of come back to a little bit, and that's mainly the reliance on torpedoes, as I discussed in my previous video about the HMS Hermes, and mainly just because the rockets, the bombs, it's all just really lackluster, if I do say so, and this is something that I'm noticing across all 3 of the CV branches, is that the bombs, the torpedoes, just, they suck. Well, not the torpedoes, but the bombs, the rockets, they suck. These are things that you're supposed to be able to rely on for semi-consistent damage, and yet I am noticing that they are among the most inconsistent ordnances you can use. Now, unfortunately, at this point I am spotted by the Marblehead L, an unusual pop-up if I do say so. But, so that kind of means I have to retask to taking it out, because nobody else will. And, well, I've already shown that the Furious is more than capable of dealing with a single Tier 5 cruiser very efficiently. And, I mean, I'm definitely going to give this Marblehead a very, very bad time, just with my torpedo bombers. And again, this is where I have to come back to just consistent damage output. The torpedoes are exceptionally consistent, and in this case even more so because they are capable of being dropped at short range, and they are, well, with torpedo acceleration, they do move a reasonable 40 knots, so they're not exactly going to have an incredible amount of inaccuracy unless you really misjudge your lead. So definitely something that I do have to say about the Furious is that she is very good with her torpedoes. And that's... I'm noticing that because of their short arming time, the British torpedo squadrons are very, very good and reliable. So, yeah, I mean, my last sortie here is bringing out the dive bombers, trying to get out to the enemy Fuso, which is... well, it has taken quite a bit of a pounding, so I'm really only going to get there kind of at the last second. And to be perfectly fair, saying kind of at the last second is a little bit of an understatement. It is basically the last second. Yeah. And this is one of the other things that I do have to note as being one of the shortcomings of the Furious, I might add. Granted, this is still Tier 6, so some of the planes are still a little on the slow side, but the one thing that I'm most annoyed with, at least for this ship, is that her attack squadron is still only one aircraft for dive bombers. On top of that, they only get 6 bombs in this one dive bomber's attack payload. Now, granted, you have 4 aircraft in the squadron, but again, the actual attack flight is only 1 aircraft that has 6 bombs, which, granted, they have a decent spread, but it just seems like the bombs are exceptionally unreliable, at least at this point in time. The final stats for the match are really only good as a function of the sheer torpedo damage that I did. I mean, 328 base EXP, and, well... yeah, the look at where my damage is focused. 41,000 from the torpedoes. I only did 1,980 from the dive bombers, but granted, that's only because I set out one dive bomber run. If I had sent out another one, I probably would have actually gotten worse even than... I probably would have been about on par with my rocket damage, which was in the 5,000 range. Net earnings for the match, 25,000 credits, and Commander earned 603 experience points, so not bad. Now let's take a look at how things can go really bad for the Furious. Yes, this match I ended up in a division with 3 Atlantas. 3. This results in 2 Atlantas and 1 New Orleans on the enemy team. Budioni, Emerald, Farragut, Fuso, and a New Mexico as, I guess, my evil twin. And you can see how I responded to that Atlanta division in chat. Just like, how the hell am I supposed to do anything in this match? And you're going to really understand why once I actually come across anything. Because here's the other downside. Most of the enemy team placement is mirrored to the friendly team placement. And I'm looking at 3 Atlantas on my side of the map. Yeah. Just about the only saving grace I have in this match is actually the result of a mistake. Yes, I actually initiated an attack run by accident, but it was a happy accident because it concealed my attack squadron from the Atlanta on the other side of the island. Like I said, just about the only saving grace this match actually had. And I am very quick to use the island to again initiate another attack run and keep this squadron hidden to perform an attack on said Atlanta. And actually get off one torpedo drop on the Atlanta before the remainder of the squadron is just absolutely wiped out. And if I had tried to press the F key, I would have lost this squadron. If I had tried to get out of range of either of the 2 Atlantas around this island, I might add, I would have lost the squadron. So there was absolutely nothing I could do to save that squadron at that point. Whether I tried to continue with the attack, whatever. And at Tier 6, these aircraft don't have the repair party either, so I was losing them either way. And yeah, you can see me complaining about the Atlantas too. It's like, what the heck am I supposed to do? Now, fortunately, one of the Atlantas is about to go down, which leaves one, and as long as I stay on the outer fringe of its AA, I suppose I'm okay, which is why I decided to go for the New Mexico. I'm sure as hell not going to make the mistake of trying to go for an Atlanta at all. that again, the only reason I went for the one Atlanta in the first place was because I happened to have the chance of striking it from stealth. But once that other one was out in the open, there was no way in hell I was going to be able to get a strike in on it. So the New Mexico is out in the open, it's just about the only target I have, and I'm using rockets because I'm trying to wait for my torpedo planes to actually replenish. Fortunately, the second Atlanta is taken out, so I do get to have a little bit of a reprieve in that regard. But unfortunately, it's not enough to still save my the last chunk of my attack rockets. And of course, I mistime my deployment of torpedoes, so unfortunately, this squadron only has 5 planes instead of the 6 that I would have preferred, and that's going to cost me a little bit as well. But now, at least the Atlantas are handled, so I can actually do something for a change in this match. Mainly in the regards to this New Mexico, which is basically the only reason I'm even going for it at this point is because it's a tier 6 and it's the closest target I have. The only other option is the Fuso clear across the map. So at this point I'm just trying to do as much damage as I can. Unfortunately, I do a little bit of a panic drop on the New Mexico over the island. I was maneuvering, so that spread just kind of goes all over the place. And now I'm back to the rocket planes again, because, again, just the one thing that I'm having issues with is the whole dive bomber thing. I think the dive bombers, the way that they are implemented, at least right now, for their actual attack mechanic, well, I'm not doubting that they can be effective. I'm personally finding them awkward. I like the torpedoes because you're just a straight run in, and that, I suppose, is one of the things that I will like once we get up to the higher tiers with the British dive bombers. But as far as everything else goes, and yeah, I'm stuttering over it a lot. I find them very awkward, to say the least. But you can see this match sucked. 31,000 damage, 37,000 credits earned. I only got 5 torpedo hits and 19 rocket hits. And that's entirely because of those Goram Atlantas. Ay. I mean, I was... The only reason I wasn't above the Icarus on the team was probably because in that last little bit I was able to do something, but not much. Geez, it's unusual to actually see the rocket damage be borderline comparable to the torpedo damage, if that says anything about how bad this match actually was. In fact, I even lost almost 10,000 credits for this match. Yeah. Now we get into what I thought was going to be a serious screw-over. Nothing says treble like a bottom tier, tier 6, in a tier 8 match. Yes, Richelieu and Baltimore on the enemy team. There are also a spread of tier 7s. There are only 2 tier 6s in this match. So, yeah. My initial reaction for this was, am I even going to bother trying with this match? And you can see I even mentioned that in chat. It's just like, what the hell am I supposed to do? Just about everything here has stronger AA than what this aircraft carrier is supposed to be able to effectively handle. Well, this is actually going to this match is actually going to catch me very much by surprise by what I managed to pull off. I mean, I know the Algerie is not exactly a slouch in the AA department. Lord knows I'm going to avoid the Baltimore if I find it at all. Just because I know the Baltimore's AA is more than anything I should be able to handle by a long shot. The only thing, honestly, that I'm hoping to run across is like the Budiani and the New Mexico. The New Mexico, of course, being my evil twin for this co-op match. Of course, what's the first thing I find? 2 tier 7s! Yeah. So, at this point, I'm in just... Okay, so let's see if I can even get anything in. And... Wait, I've gotten off an attack run on the Algerie. First attack run, I take minimal damage. And yeah, I'm taking AA. There's no doubt about that. But... for whatever reason, it's minimal at best. I mean, I get 1, 2 strikes in on the Algerie, and I'm coming around for strike number 3, and I'm even gonna get that in. Like, really? How is this even possible? And it doesn't even actually shoot down any of my aircraft until the last actual strike is already out and on way. On top of that, most of the aircraft from that strike actually return to the aircraft carrier. So, damn! I'm thinking, okay, Algerie's gone. I see the Baltimore over there. I'm not going to even mess with the Baltimore, as I said earlier. That's the kind of AA I really do not want to end up with. Let's see what happens if I go for this New Mexico! Or, sorry, Colorado. Now, I did not realize that, at least at first, that so many of my torpedo planes had returned, so I did go for strike aircraft, and I was kind of hoping for fires. And that's one of the other things that I'm noticing, at least with the British aircraft carriers for right now. Now, maybe it's just down to my aim, or whatever, but I'm having a hell of a time actually getting any of the damage over time component damage in. I'm having a really difficult time actually getting fires or floods. I do try to pull back that last little bit of the attack squadron, but unfortunately the Colorado shoots it down, so not all of my attack aircraft, or my rocket attack planes get recovered. But I have a completely full deck for my torpedo bombers, so I send out torpedo squadron yet again. And gonna get in a couple of good strikes on the Colorado. Well, I think actually just one good strike. And yeah, I mean, overall not doing too bad here. Again, one good strike on the Colorado. I am gonna turn around. I was hoping to save the friendly Budiani, but that was just apparently not to be. And also, unfortunately, while I do get the second attack strike off, the friendly Massachusetts had other ideas and finishes the Colorado off before I do. So now I'm looking... The Budiani has been dealt with, so I really only see one more viable target on the map that I can do anything about reasonably effectively. And that is the enemy New Mexico, which I am going to have a field day with as it tries to pull a tactical Notzer here. So I drop torpedoes, get them off, and I'm looking at my squadrons. First off, I do decide that I want to move and try to capture A, among other things, so I do take a minute to just get the aircraft carrier moving and start planning my actual route. And because I have enough torpedo bombers on deck, I actually sent my torpedo bombers back out to go after this enemy New Mexico. And, well, it's not gonna go too badly if I do say so. I do just quickly pop into the map view while the torpedo bombers are outbound to plot my route and get my aircraft carrier moving in the direction I want her to go. And just otherwise, I start giving this New Mexico as much trouble as I possibly can. Although I'm not going to do too terribly well on a couple of these drops. This drop, the New Mexico, is stationary. I do plan for it to start moving a little bit, so this is actually going to hit both torpedoes. The second drop, however, I misjudge it, and one of the torpedoes is going to miss. I do know that right offhand. I can already tell by the way that it's turning that only one of those is actually going to do anything. But I'm already preparing to have my third drop try to do as much as possible and get both torpedoes to make contact. And this is, again, one of the things that I'm actually liking about the British aircraft carriers. Is just the torpedoes, they're accurate, they're good. Unfortunately, only one torpedo from that last strike actually hits. Again, the New Mexico was turning in. So, unfortunately, just not what I was hoping for on the damage output there. But in the end, I guess you can say that damage is damage. Coming back to what I was starting to say, though, with the British aircraft, though, is that I'm liking how fast their aiming reticle tightens down. It makes them so easy to work with as far as just carrying out torpedo strikes. And also because their torpedoes are dropped at close range, and they can be reasonably quick, it's very difficult to actually miss a torpedo strike from either of the aircraft carriers that I've worked with for the Royal Navy so far. Which is a dramatic improvement, if I do say so, over the US and Imperial Japanese aircraft carriers that I've tried so far. Again, the Japanese, their aiming reticle narrows down sort of okay, but just the long range, the long arming time of those torpedoes is very difficult to work with. And the torpedoes are also just so friggin' slow for the Japanese. I miss more than I actually hit with those Japanese torpedoes. And the US torpedoes aren't exactly bad. Oh, hey, I finally connected with a fire, which is unfortunately immediately damage controlled. Yeah. Anyway, and then of course we have the Midway, which I can still get decent torpedo hits. At least the torpedoes haven't exactly been nerfed in that regard. They do still have a reasonable arming time, and the actual torpedo spreads are nice. You can get decent aim in with them, and the torpedo speed isn't exactly too bad either. But you still have a fair arming time, and you have to really work your aim a little bit better. Whereas the Royal Navy torpedo bombers, they're almost consistently on point every time. And I'm just enjoying that aspect of them. They are, and again, I think it's primarily because these aircraft carriers were designed during the rework, with the rework in mind already, instead of having to be fully re-engineered from the ground up. So, yeah, I think they're just benefiting from the fact that, again, they are children of a rework instead of having to be redesigned. Anyway, this match, again, a little bit of a surprise. 78,000 damage done in a bottom tier in a tier 8 match. So I did pretty well in this match, if I do say so myself, and most of the ships that I actually went after were one tier up from me, so their AA was... Now granted, nobody actually lauds the Colorado for its anti-air capabilities, but the Algerie, that's a little bit of a different story. The Algerie does, to my understanding, have a pretty decent AA suite, so the fact that I can come away with 477 basic speed at the top of the team, I might add, in a bottom tier match is, in my case, rather phenomenal. Granted, I was also very careful with my target selection. I did not go for the tier 8s because I knew if I went for them, all of my planes were basically going to be forfeit. So in some ways, it does come back to my target selection, and it also helped that the targets that I went after, I suppose, were somewhat isolated. But I mean, 66,000 damage with torpedoes, 6,000 basically a piece with bombs and rockets, which again comes back to what I've been saying before with the disparity between the bomb rocket damage versus torpedoes. I really would like to see bomb damage and rocket damage kind of get buffed up a little bit, because maybe at least at the lower tiers, because it just really seems very, very lacking. Final notes, just 30,000 credits earned net for the match, and Commander earned almost 900 EXP. Overall, again, as far as the reworked aircraft carriers, I can definitely say I am enjoying the experience so far with the Royal Navy aircraft carriers. Again, I'm not going to come out and say that I am a fan of the rework. I still think that the RTS style was much, much better, and in some ways more user-friendly actually than the rework versions. But again, I can also see that the rework version has its merits. And I've come out and said it, the rework version has its merits. I'm not a fan of it, but kind of going to have to live with it, so there you have it. Anyway, that is the HMS Furious, and I will leave you all to decide what you think of her on your own. Anyway, that's it for now. Have a good one, happy hunting, and take care out there, folks. And please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.